She said it flat like a script while that radio crackled and my license plate rolled out letter by letter. The golf cart lights pulsed slow, and every neighbor's window suddenly felt like an eye watching. You ever had that moment where your gut says, "Hold up, this isn't just weird, it's wrong," but everyone else acts like it's normal? Yeah, that was me, standing under those mailbox lights, staring at a wannabe security checkpoint smack in the middle of my own street. If you've ever wondered how far a homeowners association will go to act like they run the world, well, let me take you on a ride. I'd only lived in Meadowbrook Commons 8 months, but it felt like I'd figured out the routine. Get the mail, wave to Mrs. Henderson if she's trimming her roses, maybe toss a nod at whoever's walking their golden retriever. Small-town suburban stuff, you know? But that Tuesday evening, something felt different. The minute I turned onto Maple Creek Drive, I spotted a golf cart blocking the cluster mailboxes, not parked for convenience, but deliberately, lights flashing like some kind of police cruiser knockoff. I'm not exaggerating. Those amber strobes on top pulsed in this slow, hypnotic rhythm, and there was this undercurrent of radio static floating out into the dusk. I just wanted to grab my mail and head home for some of Sarah's leftover lasagna, but when I climbed out of my truck and heard that robotic female voice, Unit 7, Community Safety Check confirmed, my skin prickled. Then, clear as day, my license plate read off, one letter at a time. Before I'd even walked 10 steps, before I'd made eye contact with anyone, that same voice crackled. Copy. Chilling, right? Like, who authorized this neighborhood cosplay? I froze. Mailbox key halfway up, brain trying to process what I just heard. And that's when Derek Williams emerged from behind the golf cart. Middle-aged, wiry, the kind of guy you just know peaked on his high school football team, still walking around like he runs the joint. That night he was wearing a community safety uniform, badge, radio, the works. Swaggered over like a cop in training, all business. Evening. I'm going to need you to step away from your vehicle for a community safety check. Honestly, I almost laughed. But I kept my face neutral. 20 years with highway patrol teaches you when to play it cool. Community safety check for what, exactly? I asked. Derek, already fishing for his script, started reading out of a little notebook, something about HOA enforcement protocols and periodic safety assessments of residents and their vehicles to ensure compliance. The words were so rehearsed, it sounded like he was reading a robocall script. My inner radar was blaring, but I played along, watching everything. Radio, lights, his nervous glances back at the notebook. Then came the kicker. I'll need you to provide identification and sign this violation notice. He tore a sheet off a carbon copy pad that looked like it came straight off the shelf at Office Depot. Barely any watermark. Logo looked like a private business. Nothing city or county official about it. Failure to comply constitutes a violation of HOA Regulations Section 473. That's when I started recording. Just quietly set my phone on the dash, camera aimed at Derek in his golf cart. Before I sign anything, I said, show me the law that gives the HOA the right to detain residents and demand ID. Derek faltered for a split second, then called for supervisor backup for non-compliant resident on his radio. That same fake dispatch voice came back, confirming backup. But it was too immediate, like someone was watching and pushing play on a soundboard, not an actual dispatcher. I crossed my arms, leaned back against my truck. I'll follow legitimate HOA rules, but I'm not signing any violation notice for made-up procedures. His radio spat out. Unit 7, escalate to formal citation if resident continues noncompliance. That's when I caught the equipment sticker on his radio. Numbers that looked like legitimate tracking codes, but nothing I'd ever seen on actual police gear. Suddenly it hit me. This was a show. Uniforms, radio chatter, fake paperwork, elaborate theater to intimidate residents. Derek blocked my path to the mailbox. Sir, remain with your vehicle until the safety check is complete. There was a new edge in his voice. Interference with community safety procedures can result in suspension of residential privileges. As if they could evict me from my own house for not playing along with their HOA LARP. I didn't react, just let him think I was rattled. I showed him my license, careful to keep my other credentials hidden. There's my ID. Now, unless you're planning to arrest me for picking up my mail, I think we're done. Derek hesitated. His script hadn't prepped him for anyone who knew their rights. He finally blurted, "This isn't over. The HOA board will be reviewing this incident." I grabbed my mail. ignored his phone snapping pics of my license plate, and left. The drive home felt longer than ever, checking my mirror for that damn golf cart. Sarah saw my face when I walked in. "Rough day?" she asked. "You could say that. I just got pulled over by the HOA." She laughed until I played back the recording. Her face dropped. "That voice, it's a computer. They're trying to sound legit." I spent all night replaying every detail. The way Derek was so confident, the perfect timing on that plate call-out, the list in his notebook. I realized, with a pit in my stomach, they knew I was coming before I even arrived. Next morning, an envelope slid under our door, Meadowbrook Commons Homeowners Association. Escalated violation notice, it read. $75 fines for unauthorized vehicle display, failure to maintain proper residential positioning standards, and noncompliance. Sarah just stared at the letter. "What does that even mean? Your truck hasn't moved in months." Then she noticed something outside. New cameras installed on the streetlights, all pointed at our house. More photos. When the camera actually followed me as I moved, I knew this was way beyond ordinary HOA nonsense. That afternoon, I tried a test, drove to the grocery store miles away. While loading groceries, there was Derek, parked nearby, radio out, talking loud enough for me to hear. Enhanced monitoring confirmed for non-compliant resident. Message received. When I got home, Sarah was shaking. Someone called the hospital, asked about my schedule, my car. The receptionist flagged it as suspicious. That night, another envelope. Pages of community safety protocols, full of bogus rules and signatures from someone with the initials MP. The documents were slick, but obviously fake, legal-sounding gibberish about progressive enforcement for non-compliant households. Next morning, Sarah's hospital radio started getting interference. Emergency comms scrambled by bursts of static, the same artificial voice breaking through. "This is affecting ambulances," she said, and I felt cold rage. I called the non-emergency line and reported radio interference, federal offense territory now. That afternoon, Derek came by with a smug grin and a final notice, over $400 in fines. I warned him, "You're crossing the line into federal crimes, Derek. Impersonating law enforcement, interfering with emergency services, it'll catch up to you." He tried his script. "We're just enforcing HOA protocols," but I saw the doubt in his eyes. After he left, Sarah just stared out at the cameras. "Should we move?" she whispered. Part of me wanted to say yes. But another part, the cop part, thought, if we leave, they'll just do it to the next family. Maybe someone who can't fight back. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up early, played my recording for the whole room. The robotic dispatch, voice, the fake citations, the pattern. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. One by one, neighbors shared the same stories, questioned for guests, fined for family parties, followed and photographed for nothing. It was all targeting, demographics, who didn't fit. That's when Deputy Lewis from the county sheriff's office walked in. "We've had complaints about interference with emergency communications," he said. "I need to examine any radio equipment you're using." Derek and Margaret, the HOA president, tried to play dumb, but the room was done listening. I suggested a resident committee to review security procedures. Phones were out, people organizing. Margaret tried to move on, but control had slipped. After the meeting, Deputy Lewis pulled me aside. "You ever see anything like this in highway patrol?" he asked. I nodded. "Badges and radios don't make someone law enforcement. And by the way," he added, "you're not the first community reporting this. There's a pattern, unauthorized security ops, targeting, same vendor for the gear." My skin crawled. This was bigger than Meadowbrook Commons. A civil rights attorney, Laura Mitchell, reached out. She'd seen the same thing in other communities. "Your HOA budget has a $50,000 line for security enhancements, never voted on, funded by bogus fines and special assessments." She had invoices for license plate readers, facial recognition gear, community management software. The real stuff, bought with our money. As the legal complaints escalated, Derek's harassment went nuclear, showing up at Sarah's work, tailing me around town, confronting neighbors at the pharmacy. Sarah was afraid to leave the house. That was the breaking point. Laura and I filed a formal complaint with the county. Fraud, unlicensed surveillance, harassment. The county issued a cease and desist. Margaret and Derek tried to cover their tracks, pulled down documents, erased notices, but neighbors were already talking. Inspector Rodriguez from the county arrived, clipboard in hand, documenting every piece of unauthorized gear still running, every camera still active, every fake checkpoint Derek set up at the neighborhood entrance. All of this is illegal, he announced, seizing equipment on the spot. The last straw came when Derek set up an actual checkpoint at the front gate. Barriers, cones, radios, the works. Final safety assessment commencing, the robotic voice intoned. I went through the line, dashcam rolling. What authority lets you do this? I asked. Derek read his script, fake section numbers, made up emergency powers. I let him finish, then showed my badge. 20 years highway patrol, I said, loud enough for the crowd. Every stop you've made here is a crime. Rodriguez confiscated the radios, the violation pads, the whole operation. Residents filmed the takedown, Derek's face as his authority evaporated. When the strobes went dark and the crowd cheered, it was like the weight of months of fear finally lifted. You know what the hardest part of this was? I told Sarah that night. Watching good people think they had to accept fake authority just because someone in a vest told them to. Margaret faced criminal fraud charges, $50,000 in liability. Derek lost his security license forever. And federal investigators uncovered a regional network, dozens of HOAs buying these security packages that were just blueprints for discrimination. When Margaret took the stand, the reality was clear: targeting, harassment, and control, sold as community safety, funded by resident fines, and hidden behind fake authority. After it all, our neighborhood changed. The new HOA board tore down the cameras, brought in actual law enforcement for education, established oversight committees, and real transparency. Kids played outside again. Families hosted barbecues without fear. And every new resident got a pamphlet on their rights. 6 months later, a young couple asked me, "Is this a good place to live?" I handed them that resident rights pamphlet. "It is now," I said, because folks stood up instead of staying quiet. If you've ever had an HOA, a landlord, anyone try to run your life with fake rules and fake authority, tell me your story in the comments. Let's shine a light on this stuff together. Because, in the end, real community is built on truth, not fear. And fake authority only works until good people say, "Enough."